Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to what has been an unbelievable World Championship so far. 2 teams already confirmed here into the top 3 going into Saturday of this World Championship. Some crazy matches all across the board and so many storylines to discuss. Definitely intrigued to hear all your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's hop straight into things. Yes, there was the grudge match going on, Thieves versus opTic, the overrated team shenanigans. We'll talk about that of course towards the end of the video, but firstly wanted to mention this real quick. The Challengers event finally began today. I believe Clayster's team actually is already out in top 6. It's kind of funny really, Scrappy in the Trons Ultra Academy North America, they were talking mad trash on these Australia guys. Feel kind of bad for them really, because teams from Australia and also from Latin America, those guys after winning their respective LCQs had effectively no one to practice for the last couple of weeks because everyone else in their region just quit Vanguard, right, and probably deleted the game. So they've not really had the best practice. They come in here and play the best Challengers team. It's like, it's never really going to end well, but Scrappy was certainly letting them know. Also was confirmed before the day began, Cellium, the 2022 Call of Duty League MVP. I thought this was going to be relatively clear-cut in terms of the votings. I think they asked each team, or not exactly who they got involved to ask this one, but Daniel Sai reckoned on the main stage that Cell won with 90% of the votes. Mack was trying to explain exactly how it worked, and he wasn't really sure that they could really derive a number to that accuracy, but within reason, everyone pretty much gave it to Cell. 1.23 overall KD on the season, just unbelievable honestly. The level of performance this guy's delivered the entire season individually has been stunning, keeping his team in series at times and also taking over, winning them series when required as well. And it's not like he's slowed down at jumps either, which we shall see here in a second. As Cellium says, honoured to be named MVP of the season. So it was between Cell and Dashy really. Cell gets it, but of course the World Championship MVP will more than likely be someone different, unless Cell just, runs away with it. Once again, I guess they'll have to give him both. But so far in CDL history, it's been a different player that has received each one. The Rookie of the Year obviously goes to Pred. The funny thing was to me that honestly Pred, I thought maybe should have been on the list of players for the MVP nominations, right? I mean, Cellium, Dashy, number 1, number 2. Who's number 3 there, right? Is it Pred number 3? I think you can argue it. He did, of course, win an event this season, gets the Rookie of the Year as well. But Kenny inexplicably got nominated for the MVP vote. Like, okay, yes, fair enough, he turned up at Major 4, but he was pretty much a walking 0.8 for the entire season up until Major 4, so I don't really understand exactly how that happened, right? And Kenny ends up getting on the MVP nomination list, and even Kenny himself says, okay, how exactly does that happen? Nathan was kind of going rogue a little bit on the timeline right here, but trying to read into some of the replies, and even as Kenny says, what's going on? I was surprised to see me on there. Congrats to Cell, they much deserved. So Kenny was like, I don't even deserve that, but fair enough, I guess I got nominated. But let's dive into some of these series then. Ravens at Subliners, man, and this was, I saw this coming a mile away, to be honest. It was very reminiscent really of what happened with New York in the first rounds. They played against Minnesota back at Major 4. They lose game 1 at 252-14. They get beaten comfortably again on game 2. This Desert Siege has been so good for London all year. They take down New York. They weren't really playing like themselves. It felt like New York, and a 2-0 swift advantage here for London. And you're like, okay, wow, how can they throw away this series? And that's precisely what they do. There was one moment that I saw happen, and I was like, yeah, okay, this might be the beginning of the end here, because what we saw, of course, was Gismo. It was a 3 versus 2 life advantage for London against New York on an offensive round on Gavutu control. They could probably have won the round then and there. Gismo, after making a great play over Charles a bit, dies for no reason. It's now a 2v2. They lose the rounds, and then New York go on to take that map, right? So that to me was like, okay, here we go, the beginning of that European classic, Choker Nation. It happens again. And Afro was doing his best here on the game 4. Look, in fairness, Afro did get ultra fried this series. Sometimes it happens, right? You go from frying to getting absolutely destroyed. It wasn't really the best series for me to kind of, try and explain the fact that I do think that Afro probably should consider leaving London next year and going to another organisation, because there will be other teams that will give him an offer next year. We know what Afro is capable of. Doesn't always deliver, somewhat inconsistent at times. Maybe he doesn't turn up so much on LAN, but I still think that Afro can be a key piece of a championship winning squad, and he's just not really going to achieve that on London. Whatever organisation, whatever team this organisation puts together, they've never got quite enough to get over the line, and I don't really know what it is for European players at times, but yeah, the choke factor has always been there, and even this year it's creeping back into Toronto Ultra's game, which was not the case last year, right? So yes, Ravens, they lose this game 4, of course they go on to lose the game 5 as well, and a New York reverse sweep, so they stay alive, massively important for them. London understandably devastated, they go out here top 8. Felt bad for Zero, right? Even took off his jersey right here. I don't think he was meaning to be disrespectful or anything to the jersey, but he was just frustrated, takes the jersey off. I guess it was pretty hot in there as well on the main stage with a shirt underneath it as well, but yeah, tough for London. They're out top 8, the first team eliminated from the tournament. A 2-0 choke, that really does just sum them up. So I wonder what they'll come with next year in terms of their team. This year's team showed more promise than they've had for quite some time, but Afro is a free agent. I do think he's the best player on their team. I do think he will get offers elsewhere. It's whether he decides to stay on London and run it back with another teammate, or whether he thinks maybe, okay, it's time to join a different team, different environment, and maybe deliver the results that the ceiling of his play actually, well, has the capability of doing. But obviously this series wasn't really a good indication of that because he got absolutely hawked on a 0.66 KD, so maybe I should just stop talking about that one. I was wondering as well, if New York were to have lost this series and gone out top 8 here, like, I would have raised the same question on the other side. What's going to happen to HyDra, right? Is he just going to leave? Because he's also a free agent. So they survive for now, New York, but definitely don't quite look like themselves. But as I say, this is kind of similar in a way to what happened back at Major 4 before they made a rather nice run in the winners bracket. Crimsix was going rogue again on the main stage. Like, Blaze was trying to calm this guy down when he was talking trash on California or Los Angeles and the taxes, all this type of stuff. He was absolutely out of control. Like, the fines are probably coming in big time. You can't deny it. But let's talk about the next series, Ultra Boston. Funny thing was, coming into the day, I was like, okay, if there's one series that I think will go game 5 for sure, it's going to be Boston Ultra. And like, out of the other ones that surrounded it, it wasn't the case at all, right? So anyway, Boston, they lose game 1 to Ultra, and they actually got smoked here in this Search and Destroy Ultra, but they won all the respawns. Kind of surprising to me, but I mean, yeah, Boston, they just completely destroyed them here. 6-0 on this Desert Siege Search and Destroy, which is pretty remarkable because Ultra generally rather good at this map. Nero was starting to turn up, but yeah, in the respawns, Ultra just hit new levels and Boston really couldn't compete. So it was an interesting one, to be honest. Methodz, it was kind of strange looking at it, the numbers actually, because Methodz in game 1 had 28 kills, the only person positive on his team, but he had the least damage by like 1,000, least kill time, least assists. So it's like, you know, it's always interesting to look at the playstyles. It's kind of a consistent trend really with that team over the last few months or so. And yes, bye-bye to Boston. Inside even waves them goodbye across the other side of the stage as that they take them down on this Berlin hardpoint. Toronto surviving the tourney as well. So the two teams that I think most people predicted to go out in the round 1 of losers, London and Boston, those are the two teams eliminated from the tournament. What will they come back with next year? Will they keep their SMGs? Will they switch up TJHaLy, Methodz? Who knows if he's going to stay? These are questions I've been raising recently, and well, more than likely they might well come to fruition over the coming days and weeks. Look, we shall see what they decide to do, but rostermania discussions I'm sure already will be taking place behind the scenes with some of these rosters. And here we go then, we've got to talk about this. Seattle Surge versus the Atlanta FaZe. This was, I think, the most hype moment of the year so far. This play was honestly immense from Pred. The best play I've seen of the season so far. It's going to be so difficult to top this, because not only did Pred make this play, but just before this, he also got a crazy 2-piece to kind of build up to it, right? He got a great 2-piece over the previous hardpoint. He comes in here. Mack gets team-naded at this situation. So now it's Pred all alone in the hardpoint. And honestly, watching this back, like at the time it was like, okay, wow, Pred just went off, which he did. And it was unbelievable the way he did it. But FaZe, honestly, why do they always break down on the final hardpoint? This is a rotation that I swear I've seen them lose this particular hardpoint game, like what, 6 or 7 times in a very similar way. Like Pred, he's the only guy in the hardpoint here. If number 3 and aBeZy just gets this kill, aBeZy in fairness gets gunned off the heady here, but he goes a little bit too early. He didn't necessarily need to commit like that. Simp gets gunned as well, takes down the final player as well in the corner in Arcitys, and look at that, 250, 248, an unbelievable game. Pred gets absolutely hyped, and who can blame him, because that was just such a good play from start to finish. The crowd was electric, and for good reason. What an end to the hardpoint. Like Pred just, I mean, look, this guy is just, he should have been an MVP nominee. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Clear rookie of the year. Like, I mean, yeah, he's probably just tripled his salary for next season with that one play alone, to be honest. Wherever he ends up, probably still on Seattle. Player of the year in my books. The reaction to boot as well, and also from the crowd, absolutely phenomenal scenes. But I mean, look, it wasn't long before FaZe started to get back into things. They're just so good, like the kind of composure side of things, really, when you put them down 1-0 in a round, in a game that they shouldn't really have lost, and they still managed to come back and win the game too pretty easily. They take the control as well, kind of comfortably as well, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, wow, FaZe are going to close out this series, especially because they start off the hardpoint and lead effectively from the beginning to the end of the hardpoint until the final hardpoint again. I have no idea really what FaZe do. Like, do they think it ends at 240 or something? Because they sent a guy through to scrap, and they could have just given up that scrap and rotated, and if they had have done that, they probably win the game. They go for the scrap time, and even though they get it, they only get to 243, so it didn't really particularly help them. Simp gets a big kill right here. Seattle Surge super icy in the hardpoints. They clutch up another crazy hardpoint to take it to a game 5, and of course this game 5 was going to go to round 11. This is where, though, after a pretty shocking series from accuracy, I was thinking, look, this is where accuracy takes over. He drops 10 kills, he locks down the lanes, and he gets the job done. It wasn't really the case. Again, the fact that they lost this map, actually, Seattle will probably haunt them this tournament, because like I predicted earlier today, Seattle were going to win this one. You guys said I was crazy, but I really felt like there was a possibility here, and they were so close to doing it, to be honest. Pred should probably have checked that corner there, but yeah, accuracy ends up, I think, 6 and 7 or something in this game. I mean, yeah, his overall series stats aren't particularly pretty either. But 8 first bloods for Seattle in this game 5, 3 first bloods for FaZe, and actually Simp was the one who delivered all of those, and yet they still lose the map. So that's going to haunt them for sure. But look at these numbers, right? Pred tried his best, but a 0.67 for accuracy with 58 kills over 5 maps. Like, yeah, that's not quite going to cut it. But on the other side, Cell had a 1.44. Like, can you stop this man? So that means FaZe advanced to top 3 to the winners finals, guaranteed to be top 3 again this season, and just one more series victory for them means that Simp and aBeZy, if that is the case, will have attended back-to-back to back-to-back World Championship Grand Finals. And after that series was so good, I was like, okay, OpTic versus Thieves on paper should be absolutely spectacular. Exposed put a $450,000 bet on OpTic to win this one, and when I saw this, I was like, uh-oh, here we go. So, well, as NameJot says, OpTic Tectors versus Thieves, in theory, should have been a phenomenal script drive. This was probably the most dominant series I've seen in a very long period of time. Every game mode was so comfortable for Thieves. Game 1, I looked away for a second. I looked back to see Thieves up 174 to 38. Like, at the start of the season, the gimmick was Thieves don't chat us on Gavutu, all this type of stuff. OpTic became incredibly good at this map with Scump on the 3rd AR, but they got completely destroyed here. There isn't even much to say about this, other than that Envoy had 3 minutes and 20 seconds in the hardpoint. The rest of the guys were just chilling. Envoy had 3 minutes more in the hill than any player on OpTic. That's just so absurd. This is, I think, the first 100-point club that we have seen for weeks, if not months at this point, especially on Gavutu. Like, that's just absurd. 250 to 58 game 1. That was not even close. Like, he had 3 minutes 23 in the hill, Envoy did. The rest of the guys were just slaying out super hard. OpTic just got stuck in the cycle and could seemingly do nothing about it. The record is 329 from a couple of years ago, but that was unbelievable. And Shotzi went 7 in 21. That was not pretty. People were bringing up the whole formal meme, right, about the center stuff, right? You know, 7, that's all you're going to give me. That was tough, right? Like, being an SMG player when you're just running into ARs on Gavutu, it's a tough time. But OpTic got comprehensively outplayed here in this hardpoint, and it would continue as the series progressed. This game 1, I mean, look at it. Lily has a 0.52 in the game 1. Didn't get too much better for him, actually, as the series progressed anyway. The numbers on Thieves are just ridiculous. It makes sense when he's 60-point club a team. It wasn't pretty. Everyone was like, look, when are OpTic actually going to arrive? Do they realize that this game is actually happening? The controllers have got to be turned on. Everyone was retweeting all the stuff about Gavutu hardpoint. Do yourself a favor and just leave. Maybe they shouldn't have picked it after all. And then game 2, Shotzi was making some nice plays. Dashy clutch a nice 1v2. There was some elements of, OpTic's good gameplay here, but Los Angeles Thieves were just too consistent. They had too many good ideas. OpTic were making some questionable plays at times. They kept the advantage in this game. In the end, it was Kenny that made a massive flank, actually, right to the end of the game to seal the deal and take a 2-0 edge. And at this point, there was no way Thieves were ever going to rescind this, right? They're going into a control where OpTic have been so suspect the last few matches that they have played. And we look at these numbers right here going into this control. OpTic 2 and 8 since their stages 1 to 3. Like, at last, in terms of average ticks, their KD's pretty terrible. And it was as quick a 3-0 as you're probably ever going to see. Like, yes, Gavutu control, as it always does, went round 5, you know how it is. But Thieves were the better team every single round they played here. They were really giving it a good go to OpTic, just running with the offenses. OpTic just got completely destroyed on their offensive rounds. And again, Thieves run away with an incredibly comfortable series victory. They will take, I'm sure, so much confidence from this going into the match against FaZe. They're going to have to determine the first grand finalists. And OpTic go down to losers. Octane was letting them know as well. I mean, he's not afraid to get the GG man on his back like it was for aBeZy before, but at this point, I suppose, he'd already won the series. But OpTic will drop down to losers to play New York Subliners. The loser of the Scumping Crimsix grudge match tomorrow will come top 6 of this tournament, and New York probably smell blood in the water. And in fairness, it's not like the whole crowd was against them at all. There was a lot of Thieves fans in the venue. Great to see, right, in Los Angeles, of course, kind of a home event for this team. Appreciate the crowd support here, says Octane. I said what I said, says Drazah, doubling down again, right, and fair play. All the talk was, are OpTic actually overrated? Was Drazah correct? He says this and completely destroys OpTic, right? You've got to give credit to Thieves for what was a demolition job today. OpTic have got a lot to think about overnight if they want to have any chance of making some sort of losers bracket run. And we will just finish out with the numbers, right? It wasn't pretty. Scump was probably the best player on the team this match. Best KD, most damage on the team. Octane ended up 1.8 against them. Illy dropped a 0.5. He went 12 in 31, I think, on the final control. That wasn't good. Shotzi as well, 0.72. The numbers are kind of going to get skewed from that map 1. But yeah, this entire series, there's honestly not too much more to talk about, to be honest. So yes, very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this in the comment section below. What does this mean for the rest of the tournament? But Thieves are maybe on the way to go back back to back. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.